Bust it.
Hello and welcome to Political Platform. Of course, it's a political program that takes you through events relating to Nigeria's socioeconomic and, of course, political developments, updating you with issues as they break out across the length and breadth of the country. You can get this program live on AIT Network. Remember to download the app from the Google Play Store. You can also catch up with AIT Abuja, that's 6 p.m. Abuja time, and AIT International 1930 hours if you're outside the shores of the country. Now, so many things happening in the country. How will you react when some eminent Nigerian senators under the umbrella organization called Christian Legislators Fellowship comes out with a pronouncement saying Nigeria is on the brink of collapse? Would you say there is hope and light at the end of the tunnel? Considering the state of affairs in the nation, are they right in this assertion? They said indeed basic amenities are no longer available to the citizens with the giant of Africa on the brink of failing as a state. We shall be taking a look at this alarm they are raising, but they said if we fail to address the problems by ourselves, by coming up with policies and programs that will leave the nation out of this abyss of darkness, maybe prayers will do the magic. That's why they are resorting to prayers and have declared Thursday as a special prayer day for divine intervention to lift Nigeria's problem. Is it prayers we should make a recourse to, or should we walk the talk? These are some of the issues. But when you consider some socioeconomic indicators, it tells you that indeed maybe they are right, and maybe it's time we raise the red flag, raise alarm, and begin to tell people at the right places to do the right things. All the indices are negative, most of them, but some good news from Sokoto State, where we were told between 2015 and 2017, the number of out-of-school children have dropped significantly by as much as 50%. It was 69% in 2015, but due to the efforts put in place by the state government, the figure has come down to 37%. It is one framework other states in northern Nigeria should copy to indeed help the Nigerian state and the ship of the nation to begin to float very well. Of course, 11 million children out of school in Nigeria, children that are of school age, but due to certain circumstances, most times beyond their control, they are found on the streets. My name is Amechi Anapwo. It is the 31st anniversary of the killing of Dele Giwa, the renowned journalist, and we shall be taking our time to, of course, speak with a veteran journalist to remind us of what happened that period, the dark days of Nigeria's history, and, of course, issues of press freedom as we move forward. Adebayo Bodrin is with us in the studio this morning.
Yeah, I am. It's a shameful development what has happened in Sokoto, and as one that covered the Northern Summit, on the future of the Nigerian Federation last week in Kaduna. This issue was one of the issues, because beyond the issue of restructuring and the future of the Nigerian Federation, critical issues were also raised, problems militating against development and economic growth in the north were actually raised. And issue of education was one of those that was strongly canvassed. And the people who actually spoke on that issue, apart from the scholars who attended the conference, were actually women. And they raised critical issue about it on the need to seriously look into the educational development in the north, problem militating against school enrollment, funding, and all the rest. And they were comparing it with the period of Sir Ahmadu Bello, when parents were, it's compulsory for them, they were forced to send their children to school, and children then were not only being given food, they don't pay anything while they were in school. On Dele Giwa, Looking back, it was really a very, very sad day for journalists then. As a reporter with Punch newspaper, I was on annual leave. I was recalled to the office, and I was among the team set up to go and cover what looked like a novel idea of terminating the life of a journalist. I was in his house. I saw the shattered house, and I also followed the corpse to his village where he was laid to rest. And it's usually, when you remember this day and you look at your work as a journalist, how the critical issue of safety of journalists keep on, you just keep on remembering it and talking about it. And thank God that level of brutality was witnessed when we were under military regime. Yes, we are under democracy today, but are journalists really totally free? I doubt very much. There are still a few people here and there who are yet to remove the military mentality from their psyche and have a feeling that we're in a democracy, and that the robustness of debate, the robustness of discussion cannot take place without the media playing active role. And that those who are doing the job, who are there, media practitioners, whether as professional journalists on the feed, whether those who are in the studios, whether those in the newsrooms and all the rest, their lives need to be protected. We now have a Freedom of Information Act. Is it working? I can tell you that it is not working, because institutions in Nigeria are yet to accept that there are no secrets when it comes to governance.
Okay. Ijeoma Osamah has been on the trail of those wishing to take over the job of Senator Ahmed Makarfi, chairman of the National Caretaker Committee of the PDP, in their scheduled convention this December. How has it been, Ijeoma?
Well, Amechi, it's been, let me just say, competitive, because since I've been covering the PDP and most of their national conventions, this one actually, it's very, very competitive. Because now I think they have about 7 candidates from the Southwest and from the South.
Can you quickly mention these names?
No, I just can't mention all of them, but I know some people like Benga Daniel is in the race. Professor Adeniro is in the race. We have the likes of Olabode George in the race. We have the likes of Chief Raymond Aleo-Dokpesi in the race. And we also hear that the former deputy chairman of the party, Uche Secondus, is also in the race.
But those that are on the field, those that have been engaging the media and engaging with stakeholders of the party, of course, we know them: High Chief Aleo-Dokpesi, Tunde Adeniro, of course, Benga Daniel. Yes. These are people that have publicly, and even Olabode George. There've been some engagements
with them. But there's this common word in the mouth of most leaders of the party and founding fathers of the party, that this convention is key. If they don't get it right this time, they will not be PDP again. So I still think the PDP needs to put its heads down, especially when it comes to delegates, because that's where the problem is. Okay. You remember the Port Harcourt Convention, when some persons protested that they changed the delegate list.
The delegate list were doctor.
Yes.
Well, we also have Professor Tawhid Adedoja also in the race. Adedoja was
from the Southwest.
Yeah,
yes.
From the Southwest. Adedoja was a former minister. He was a former provost of a college of education. He's also in the race. But if you look at the history of PDP, the only convention that produced national chairman that was not keenly contested for was actually the one that took place at the International Conference Center after Alex Ekweme stepped down as interim chairman, and the one that produced the latest Solomon La was the only one. If you look at all the other conventions, either the one where Gemade Emaj or Audu Ogbe, you go into it, you will look that they were all keenly contested for. The only difference this time around is that the number of candidates jostling for this prime position in PDP are more this time around. Even when they were no more than 2 or 3,
and I can tell
the intensity of campaign was also has always been very high.
Yes. The more the merrier. That's what democracy is all about. And of course, it tells you that you need to reach out, you need to campaign vigorously for you to get into elective offices. And important party positions, such as we are seeing.
But the only remarkable thing this time around is that most candidates in the past, what they do is to pick nomination form, remain in Abuja, and be campaigning. But this time around, we are now witnessing candidates, who are hopeful they will win the chairmanship position, crossing the length and breadth of this country. And I think it's a good development for democracy and for the party.
Okay, let's go to your mails now. Let's feel your thoughts. So many of our writers are angry with Governor Rochas Okorocha of Imo State. But the man has said he has no apology for inviting and hosting Jacob Zuma, saying if it were in the PDP era, schools, markets and roads would have been closed just because such a personality is being posted. But it did not happen in his time, he says. And he says, and I repeat again, no apologies for the statue erecting multi-million naira statue of Jacob Zuma and spending huge sums of money hosting him.
Hello and welcome to the mail segment. I am Etenikan Akepu.
And I'm Ife Nwanwobi. Welcome.
Now begin with a reaction to yesterday's interview, and it's coming from Nwoke Chuks in Garki, Abuja. He says, after listening to the media assistants to Governor Rochas Okorocha, I felt for him and other media assistants and advisors, because I am very sure that as soon as they leave the position they occupy, they then begin to see clearly and understand well, even though they may know the right things now. He could not even answer one question put across to him. I am not surprised by that, but I felt so sorry for the people of Imo State, even though my own Abia State is something else. We are watching.
Still in that light, Kunle Rotimi in Lagos State says, I listened to your radio program yesterday in which you aired the feeble defense of Governor Okorocha by his spokesman on the ill-fated statue of President Jacob Zuma. His argument was too watery and distasteful. The alleged huge cost of erecting the wasteful effigy of an alleged corruption symbol and mounting needless billboards of barren handshake with Obama should have been rationally and responsibly utilized by Governor Rochas to pay part of salary arrears he owes school teachers to promote education in Imo State. Taxpayers need beneficial and good governance, not these wasteful sentiments that deepen mass poverty. May God grant Nigeria visionary, benevolent, wise, kind, patriotic and selfless leaders. There is acute scarcity value of such leadership now in our dear nation. Too sad.
And on the issue of non-payment of workers' salary, Christy Victor in Kubwa is asking some questions. She says, talking about workers being owed salaries for months, I want to ask, are the salaries of governors of those states owed also? Are the cabinet members owed too? What about the commissioners and other stakeholders? Are they also owed salaries? Or is it only the common man? Just like what the president said, I want to beg the various state governors that are owing their workers to be human and do the right thing. God bless Nigeria.
And from the road to education sector, Kenneth Folorunshaw from Kubwa in Abuja says, it is disheartening to know that the National Library of Nigeria is still using a rented building as headquarters in Abuja. No government has taken the library to be as important to the development of education in Nigeria. The government should please complete the building and let us have a befitting building housing the knowledge treasure of the country.
And that will be it for the mail segment today. Keep your mails coming. Send them to politicalplatform@yahoo.com. And don't forget to watch us on YouTube at AIT Political Platform.
Bust it!
They present the popular radio program Political Platform on the Ray Power FM network. Ray Power FM Political Platform, now on television. Keep track of the country's polity and be part of the process as they discuss and put political developments in the country into perspective. It's Ray Power Political Platform on AIT Abuja.
Thank you so much for your mails. The National Library Headquarters building in Abuja under construction for the past 14 years, and we have structures that are not too relevant towards our development, springing up, fully completed and functional. And it tells you about, indeed, the place of education in Nigeria's development agenda. Of course, when some senators, the likes of Gemade, Emmanuel Buacha, Oluwemi Tunibu, gather in an organization called Christian Legislators Fellowship and say Nigeria is on the brink of collapse, and of course, designating this Thursday as a special day for prayers. You begin to indeed say and ask the question, are we not taking a lot of risk with our development trajectory? What should we do as a nation to arrest this slide? They said, take a look at the discourse, national discourse across levels, according to the senators, hate speeches, secessionist words, name it. They said nothing is working, but of course, we know some things are working, and of course, we can do better than that. For instance, take a look at what happened in Basa local government area of Plateau State some days ago, when 29 persons, women and children, were killed, and the military authorities there telling Nigerians that they were overpowered by, of course, the numerical strength of the invaders, who, of course, they said they went out to engage, while leaving the young people and women they asked to take safe haven in a school building. They left them unprotected, leading to their killings. And when you take a look at what happened in Taraba some few months back, where some people were gruesomely murdered, this issue of bad roads across the length and breadth of the country. If you're traveling, if you're not running away from trigger-happy and overzealous security operatives, you are not done yet with kidnappers and, of course, violent herdsmen. These are some of the issues that are facing us as a nation. How do we begin to get out of this problem? Should we recourse to prayers? Do we do radical, transformational change that will change the course of the direction of our nation? I spoke earlier about the socioeconomic indicators, maternal mortality rate, child mortality rate. We have one of the highest in the world. Illiteracy rate, one of the highest in Africa. And name them. It's just a gloomy picture. Should we continue on this trajectory, or do we do something urgent to change it?
I'm actually resorting to prayers. I think Nigerians are known to be very, very religious. But this time, the leaders know what the problem is. And if they pretend not to know, then we need to ask them questions. We've been, the Nigerians, the common Nigerian person, even in the street, have been complaining and asking the government to change the course. That's why there is so much and loud call for restructuring. But if they don't yield to that call, well, I don't know. Some persons do not believe in the call for restructuring of this country. But I think the only solution to most of our problems in Nigeria is to take a look at our foundation. How did we start? Take a look at what is happening and sit down in a round table to decide where it will go. So I think we should take a look at the structure of this country. That is where we'll start from before we start resorting to God and calling God. We call God every day in this country. If you go out as I'm talking to you now, there are people in church praying for Nigeria. There are people in the mosques praying for Nigeria. But remember, as a Christian, I know that the Bible says, if your ways are not clean, are not pleasing to God, your prayer is an abomination unto him. So if they resort to prayer, calling a Thursday special prayer session, well, let's hope it will happen. It has happened before. I remember the APC held a prayer session for Nigeria. I remember the PDP held a prayer session for Nigeria. But I think we know what to do, but the government is not being responsible enough to say, no, let me drop our pride. Let us drop our pride. Let's sit together and take a decision on what should happen. The governors went to see the president, and they are complaining that they still want the other half of their money, borrowed money. And they've not even explained to their people that they govern how they spent the first one that they gave them. And they are still looking for another money, borrowed money to the state. They are sitting down looking for how to spend money for 2019.
You have rightly captured it very well. Issues of a structure of the country, staying in an Abuja to administer borehole construction in different parts of the country. And again, of course, the issue of leadership and followership. We have deficiency in these two. We are not blessed with good leaders as much as we are blessed with huge human resources. Go elsewhere across the world. Nigerians are the helm of affairs, performing wonders. The followership we have here is weak, not holding the leadership accountable. But let's talk about one man who did not live for so long in this world, but left his mark in the sands of history. He was cut down in his prime. That's talking about the late Delegewa journalist, was working with Newswatch then. That was when we first heard of letter bomb in Nigeria. It was sent to him and he ripped him apart. But 31 years after, his memories, his legacies are still fresh on our minds. Let's welcome Richard Akinola, of course, a veteran journalist, to share, of course, his thoughts on the issue of the killing of Delegiwa 31 years ago and press freedom presently in Nigeria. Hello, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
So it's 31 years, how time flies, but his name has continued to ring bells on the ears of Nigerians.
Yes, well, because the nature and the manner of his assassination was novel in Nigeria, and that was on October 19, 1986, when he was killed by the viral Paso bomb. So, and of course, I mean, there have been different conjectures on what may have happened, what others may have led to it. But I think that in the process of the Okuta panel, some of those issues came to fall, apart from all the legal actions taken by late Chief Gani Fawehinmi. As at the last count, there were about 38 cases with 284 court appearances in respect of the death of the Delegiwa when Gani Fawehinmi was pursuing seeking for justice. So, but unfortunately, because of various legal roadblocks, nothing could be done. However, when the matter came up again at the Okuta panel, the panel recommended that the issue of the assassination of the Delegiwa had to be investigated. So that time, nothing has been done by the various governments. That was during the Obasanjo government, and we've had the Yar'Adua government, we have had the Jonathan government, now we have Buhari government, and nothing has been done in terms of reopening the whole investigation. So perhaps, I mean, each time the anniversary comes up, and it brings up the issue of what is happening to the issue of fresh investigation into the death of Delegiwa. And of course, I mean,
Richard, you have, as a journalist, you have documented the ordeal of journalists across the country. If you look at all those ordeal, the killings, and particularly when you remember, apart from Delegiwa, you also remember that Bagauda Kato was also killed through a bomb in an hotel in Kaduna. Does it mean, do you think enough is being done to protect the life of an average journalist in Nigeria?
Well, I think it's a major professional hazard. Just like Delegiwa once wrote, he said that in this line of business, death is part of the package. So just 2 days ago, the journalist who was working on these Panama Papers, on the investigation of corruption, was assassinated in Malta, and that's Daphne Galizia. He died on Monday. That car bomb, who was working on this issue of corruption in the Panama Papers. So the issue of death and journalism, I think they are intertwined. So, but unfortunately, in our climate, we don't have most media houses don't have insurance schemes for journalists, because I recall that during the Liberian Civil War, we lost two journalists, Chris Imodibe and Tayo Awotusi. And one of the journalists who escaped that program then, Frank Igwebweze, told me then that when they were in Liberia, that Elizabeth Blunt, the BBC correspondent, had enough cash and credit cards with her, while the journalists just managed to survive. And of course, if they had enough cash on them, that Chris Imodibe and Tayo Awotusi may not have died. So it comes back to sometimes even the issue in terms of the working environment and what condition of service of journalists, because they're exposed to dangers on daily basis in terms of what they publish, what they broadcast. But unfortunately, most media houses don't have insurance that has been a backup. So, for example, many people criticize Nigerian journalists that when they watch CNN journalists, Sky News journalists in Syria and all those war zones, that why is it impossible for Nigerian journalists to be involved in such local skirmishes like Boko Haram? And I said, look, how many is it the media house that has not even paid the normal wages that we are now talking about in terms of insurance. So it's a major institutional problem that we need to address, because otherwise the issue of death and even the permanent disability of journalists in the course of their duty will continue, which unfortunately, I mean, that's the unfortunate reality that we have to find ourselves. And of course, which is one of the major reasons why I established the Journalist Widows Scheme in 2010 to take care of the widows and children of dead journalists.
Now, are you concerned that 31 years after the death of Delegewa, his murder is yet to be resolved? It's still a mystery up to this day.
Yes, there are pointers to those who will probably be involved based on the litigations involved initiated by Gadifa Himi, and of course over the Okuta panel, the revelation of the Okuta panel. So some of these issues were contained in my book, because I had to publish a book on the Delegewa's death. So, but as I said earlier, this issue can still be investigated no matter how long it takes. What is required is the political will of whoever is in government at a particular time to initiate this investigation, to reopen fresh investigation. Because some of the dramatic participants who investigated the initial investigation of the case are still alive. Omebe, DIG Omebe is still alive. Abubakar Sav, former commissioner of police, who actually wrote the initial report.
We have to jump in the very last question because we don't have time.
Let's look at the contribution of journalists in this country. Apart from media proprietors, notable journalists who play active role, who did their job in the interest of the country, were hardly recognized, were hardly honored. Even in the course of Nigerian Civil War, two journalists lost their life. One of them is Damboa, who a journalist dead. But why others are being honored and praised up to today? Those who play active role in reporting such events, in play active role in political evolution of Nigeria, were hardly honored, were hardly remembered. Do you think society doesn't appreciate the job of journalists?
In 30 seconds, please.
Charity should begin at home. Has the Nigerian journalists even recognized these people? So before we talk about government, has the NUJ recognized them over time? Even the association as Chris Modiga, how many people have NUJ taking care of the family or recognize them? So the charity should begin at home. How many people have NUJ recognized in terms of their contribution to the journalism profession? So before we talk about this government, we have to talk about ourselves first.
Okay. Thank you so much, Richard Akinola, for giving us your time this morning.
All right.
Okay, that's the much we can take, but be assured that when we come back tomorrow, Friday, more, of course, we'll be taking you to Anambra to update you on events there. But of course, remain a patriotic citizen. Don't just be an ordinary citizen. Participate more, and of course, perform your civic responsibility. On behalf of the crew, my name is Amechi Anokwe. Have a good day.
Bust it.